All right, Coach Peter, good to be with you here again. You want to learn about how to lose fat fast? Does that intrigue you?
Yes, beach season is coming, Eddie, and I want to see what the experts online are saying. So let's bring it. Let's see what they have to say.
All right, cool. Yeah, today we're going to be learning this from Obi Fitness. So let's take a look at what he has to say here. Let's rewind and let's get started. You can pause it whenever you'd like as well if you have any comments to make.
We'll be talking about an aggressive cut I call the essential diet. You guys might be calling it crash dieting 101. Not only is it more effective, it's actually preferable. And I'll let you decide by the end of the video. How often have you been scrolling on social media and people are telling you, eating too little of calories, you'll be in starvation mode. Your body will magically switch just like that and you'll stop burning fat and you'll be storing fat on your body. Or you've seen your fellow doctor on the internet, better known as chiropractors, because if you look up any other profession, they're usually chiropractors giving nutrition advice. But in reality, if you can adhere to a calorie deficit that's very extreme, you're basically just sprinting rather than doing a marathon. I have to be honest with you though and say the side effects. So a lot of people will say all the glit and glamour of it, but truly, you are going to regain all the way back if you do it improperly and you do these things. So a lot of people say you crash your metabolism, you crash your thyroid just stops working. You stop burning as many calories. But in reality, when you're losing weight, fat, you're simply getting lighter. And it doesn't.
All
Okay,
right.
well,
Yeah.
that's enough of that for now.
Yes. I agree. I agree. What are your thoughts on that?
What was his take on when he said something like the preferred weight loss strategy? What was that thing he was
Yeah,
implying?
so this is what he's going to get into is his ultimate sort of cutting strategy. It's a cutting season apparently, but he says some of you might call it the ultimate crash diet. So he's saying, but in reality, this is preferable to what people will consider a more temperate, measured approach to cutting, doing this sort of crash diet approach. And now he's criticizing the idea of crash dieting and criticizing the idea that whenever you restrict calories, quote unquote calories, that your metabolism will slow down, and in fact, you can actually slow down the rate of fat loss. And if anything, if it gets bad enough, you can actually not just stall weight loss, but you can actually gain fat.
Okay,
So that's his criticism.
gotcha. I've never watched this video before, so I'll let him speak a little bit more and see where he's going with it.
Okay, nothing yet. Okay, because I've got he's talking about thyroid as well. So I just want to make sure that we remember everything that he's saying here. But
Yeah.
here, yeah, let's let his reasoning. Let's listen to his reasons first, and then we can sort of get going with the overall criticism of his belief, if it warrants it.
Maybe there's no criticism. Maybe we're on his side.
Yeah, maybe.
Doesn't matter the deficit you're in. So if you're in a 200 calorie deficit, that'll be a deficit until it turns into your maintenance. When you're losing weight, you're getting lighter, so you're burning less calories in a day. You didn't crash your
Oh god, I
metabolism.
can't with the
You just
calories. I can't with the
Yeah,
deficit.
sorry. Yeah, I've been really biting my tongue here. In fact, I just started instead of since I was having to not speak for and let it go, I started just taking it out on a piece of paper because there's a it need I need to there's an element of catharsis that needs to happen on the release valve here because I need to the whole calorie thing is a problem. But why is it a problem? Why do you have a problem with that? Before I get into my reasoning.
Oh, well, you know what? We can go on and on about what calories are. Like a calorie deficit would technically be hyperthermia, correct?
Yeah, hypothermia. Yeah.
And so, but if I understand how he's looking at, because I always try when I listen to someone speak, a coach or a client, I try to see things from their perspective. So calories are measurements of heat. Okay, our body doesn't use calories; it's mass in and mass out. But what I'm going to try to do is replace whenever he says calories, I'm going in my mind to replace with mass and see if it still makes sense.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. What? So if we were to do that now, he's saying that basically, as you restrict calories, so you restrict the massive food intake, the idea that that could slow your metabolism and actually be counterproductive to your goals of fat loss. He says that's ridiculous because if you were in a quote unquote 200 calorie deficit, you'll be in a deficit until you lose the fat, and then that'll become your new maintenance. So that's actually not you're no longer in a deficit anymore. That this is classic, you know, gym bro coaching, rhetoric. Okay, so to the general premise, which is, oh, well, calorie deficits, just restricting your massive food intake, irrespective of what that massive food is actually made up of and composed of. What do you suggest is sort of the correct response here? What do you suggest is the problem with that idea that this isn't actually going to slow your metabolism. It's going to be totally fine. You can totally have, it'll be no problems whatsoever.
Well, there's so many different factors in play here. Depends on what you're eating. And I've been doing this for probably longer than this young man has been alive. I've seen clients go in like 1,000 calorie deficit, quote unquote, per day, and they actually gain weight. So there's so many other factors involved. Will restricting your mass or quote unquote calories harm or maybe slow down the metabolism? Yeah. If you're eating less, your body is meant to survive, especially women. So their bodies
Hmm.
are designed to hold on to that fat for survival reasons. Now, what happens, and I've seen it, I've been doing this for 20 years. When they re include the foods, they've lost, depending on what they eat. That's why I say there's so many different factors, depending on if they're getting enough protein or not. That's a big one. But when they reintroduce foods, you could call it metabolism or muscle loss or what have you. But when they re-include the foods, they will gain weight faster than they realize. It's called yo-yo dieting for a reason. They gain weight, they lose fat. They gain weight, they lose weight. They gain weight. And each time you gain or lose and gain the weight back, it's harder to lose it because you've lost so much muscle mass. So I'm willing to hear them out and see exactly what the strategy is, because if you're getting enough protein, that will, in theory, will decrease the chance of gaining more fat back after you start reintroducing foods again. But again,
Okay.
it depends on what you're reintroducing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, yeah, our conclusions are pretty much um, identical here. We're on the same page. They parallel each other because my general, yeah, like you said, you could put us, even if we're to put aside the whole unit of calorie as a measurement of what you're actually consuming anyway, because there's problems with that. Even if we're going to put that aside and be as charitable as possible with what his intention is as to what he's actually trying to say, if you are restricting the mass of food that you are consuming, but you aren't changing the quality, you will very oftentimes be eating things that are not very satiating, which is going to make it very, very, very difficult for you to even maintain that protocol to begin with. And even if you push through it, those hunger signals are there for a reason. You are literally telling your body, okay, well, your body is telling you that it needs a certain amount of food, that it wants a certain amount of food, and you are overriding that signal. Now, if you override a signal like that, you can very well expect to have problems. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now, his point is, well, if you just deal with that signal for a bit and then you lose the fat, then it no longer will cause you to be super hungry because now you're not going to be hungry anymore. You've lost fat. There's nothing more to maintain. You're not going to have that hunger signal. The problem is that is based on the premise that assumes that it's going to happen, that the fat loss is going to happen. But sometimes, in order to protect itself, the body prevents that from happening to begin with. It slows its metabolism. You slow your thyroid down. You just said that you've had clients that have gone into 1,000, purportedly 1,000 calorie deficits, and they don't lose fat. Like they
Yes.
don't. And
Yes.
so, you can either say, well, one, they're lying. They're just liars because that's physically impossible. Or you could say, okay, well, I believe you. Okay, let's try and figure out what's going on and just realize that the system doesn't work that way. The system recalibrates according to the inputs. That's literally what our bodies do. That's what every animal's body does. Your metabolism, your metabolic rate slows down to compensate because it knows that it needs more. It knows
Mhm.
that it needs more food because you're not providing it. In many cases, because you're not providing it with the food that you are consuming with the right amounts of things that it needs, even when you are eating sufficiently. And so when you cut down on that, then you're going to have problems.
And you said a good point there too. It's they're accused of lying. And you know what, Eddie, that breaks my heart because like I've seen these people at their wits' end and I've seen what they eat and they're in tears and they're spending thousands. I've worked with people that have paid me tens of thousands of dollars and they're sitting next to me in front of me and they're like, I can't lose the weight. This was back before I knew what I knew now. But I look at it and I count the calories, and we're talking 5, 6, 700 calories tops, and they're gaining weight. If they go long enough without eating, will they lose weight? Of course they will, because they are made of mass. It
Right.
is
Yeah.
mass in, the less mass. However, they try. fitness influencers try to simplify it so much. There are lots of hormonal effects on the body here. And so I'm willing to hear him out. There might be some there might be some facts that he's correct on, right? But at the same time, if we're going to follow this strategy, whatever the fat loss strategy is, if it's calories in, calories out, then please explain to me again why I've worked with people over the past couple of years that have increased their quote unquote calories by 50, 60, 70, sometimes almost double the amount of calories, but lose body fat. Explain that to me. But
Right.
I'm willing to hear him out. And I haven't seen this before, but let's see what he has to say.
All right. Sounds good.
Just succeeded. Just think about it. Would you eat as much as Eddie Hall or Hafthor Bjornsson, the world's strongest men? No, they're double your size, so they're eating substantially
I thought he was going to say Eddie Goki.
more food because they're burning those calories because they're carrying those pounds on their body. And a cool bodybuilder actually tested this. For every pound he lost, he added a pound to his weight vest. He wore 24/7. He kept the calories the exact same the whole way through, and he did a bodybuilding show. Pretty cool stuff. Showing it's not your thyroid or your metabolic rate, it's pretty much just how much you weigh. So knowing that information, you can make the deficit as much as you want. It's what you can adhere to. And that's why I call it the essential diet. Most people, when they're in a calorie deficit, they do 200 or 300 calorie deficit. That works for some people. And then for most, it doesn't. Because time and time again, you have to be in a calorie deficit for 4, 6, even 7 months sometimes. And to get results that you want people to be shocked by, you have to do things that are kind of shocking, which in this case would be going to 500, 700, even 1,000 calorie deficit. Even more extreme people like me, a 2,000 calorie deficit. As you can see here, I lost 20 pounds in less than 2 months, getting my body that I want and maintaining any of my maintenance calories, not putting on any extra fat.
Okay. I still haven't found out his strategy yet. It sounds like it's a high amount of a calorie quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
deficit, right?
Yeah.
And what's this guy's name again?
Yeah. So this is someone that is more commonly known on Instagram as Obi Fitness.
OB Fitness. If you're watching, shout out, man. You do look great. So well done. But
Yeah.
let's see what you have to say.
Well, so what do you have to say about people that say that, well, whenever they've gone on a calorie deficit, they have succeeded? Because that's actually a common argument. It's like, well, Peter, you keep talking about all these people that you've dealt with that are eating, 500, 600, 700 calories tops, and they're not losing weight. But how do you explain me doing something like this, where I'm eating more calories than them, quote unquote, and yet I'm losing weight just fine? What is your explanation to this? What is the way that you would combat this?
I understand that, and that's a young coach. That's what we call a rookie mistake. Thinking what works for you is going to work for your client. And same thing with exercise. Like, let's say I had knee pain. This exercise helped me. Well, it's not going to help your client. There's no guarantee. And same thing when it comes to food. This meal plan worked for me, and I'm proof. And you show a picture you look great in, and what you did worked for you. And so, congrats to that. But to push that, it doesn't sound like you're pushing, but to recommend this method on people who if they're involved in the health industry, if they're trying to lose fat, they most likely have some sort of eating disorder or metabolic issue. So you do have to tread lightly whenever you're recommending something, even if it's worked for you. So I've trained thousands of people over the years, and I guarantee I've never created, I promise you, I've never created the same program twice. Each person was so specific. I had to factor in so many different things: their lifestyle, their history, their work, their injuries, their metabolic um, harm that they've done over the years, their gut health, so many things. So that's my first take on that.
Okay. Yep. 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 I mean, we both agree with this. The thing that I would add is, if your philosophy is based on, the first law of thermodynamics, if people are actually doing that, if they're eating less than they're burning, quote unquote, then they should be losing weight. What I would say in response to that, besides the whole, well, what you burn, quote unquote, could actually go down as you eat less, which is sort of what we already covered. Um, what I would also say is, if there is even one person that defies that notion, then you know that that law is not a law, is it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not broken. I'm not saying that the first law of thermodynamics is not a law, but what I am saying is that it is highly, it has to be tailored to it, like the laws are contextual, laws are conditional. We have
Mhm.
to remember that the first law of thermodynamics is not talking about a system as complex as the body. It's not referring to or describing or explaining a system that's as complex as the body. It's explaining a system that is very simple. It's a bomb calorimeter. It's something that is a closed thermodynamic system, and it rapidly combusts things inside it via a massive electrical current. It's not something that the body, it's not representative of what the body does with food. It doesn't rapidly, it doesn't change upward and downward depending on the types of inputs that you put in and depending on how much you put in. Even it's just it really, the only thing that changes in a bomb calorimeter is the amount that you put in will determine how much comes out. Sure, absolutely, but that's not how the human body works.
Exactly.
We absorb energy, sure. We also release energy, sure. Okay, that makes us very similar to bomb calorimeters, but we also absorb and excrete mass. We eat food, which is mass. We urinate. Okay, urine is mass. We sweat. That's mass. All of that stuff is not accounted for. Not to mention that a lot of the stuff that you're eating, that's sort of included in a calorie number on food labels, you're not even able to digest anyway. Like fiber is a part of calories, right? But you're not actually absorbing those. And people will say, well, that's part of calories out, though. It's like, yeah, but how do you measure that? How do you actually determine that? You're just telling people to eat less, but you cannot account for that. It's not possible
Yeah.
to do so.
And let alone they could be off by 20%.
Yeah. The calorie numbers themselves could be off by up to
Yeah.
20% in either direction. Exactly. And this is speaking to a broader point, because the whole point of this is to exemplify. There are a lot of coaches online. OB Fitness has I mean, even just on his YouTube channel, he's got over 100,000 subscribers. And I'm sure that he has far more than that on Instagram. It was where he's more prominently known, and even on TikTok if he's on there. And this is sort of the quality even today of online health coaches nowadays. And some of them, they're very well intentioned. That's great. I mean, it's better than being ill intentioned. But the information is very antiquated, which would be fine so long as it was correct. And we know, but we know now that it's not exactly correct. There's a lot more nuance here, um, as rather than just being calories in, calories out, right? And it speaks to a broader point, because in the carnivore space, it's a diet that we promote. It's the lifestyle that we promote. Carnivore, the coaching community in carnivore, we're very low in supply in that respect. And so what I've often said is that people conflate that with credibility, right? Oh, if there's not as many people promoting carnivore, that means it's not credible. But what I would actually go as far to say, to you who are watching right now is is we don't carnivore doesn't have a credibility problem. That's not the problem that it has. If it did, we wouldn't be promoting carnivore, right? It has a coach problem. There are too many self-proclaimed experts that they can't explain processes that are very important to understand for metabolism and diet, such as gluconeogenesis. They can't analyze blood work properly. They can't articulate saturated fat metabolism properly. And they can't defend their position as well in front of a physician either. And those are obviously people that they press you a lot. They're some of the times the most confidently wrong in their assertions. Um, and the market notices this gap here, because that is the gap. That's the gap. They you know they the market notices, and if you actually understand carnivore, on the other hand, and you've actually transformed your health, or you've seen other people do so, um, and you know that you can provide benefit, you now face a choice in the space. Okay, you either can stay silent about it, or you can become competent enough to represent it properly. That's really those are the two choices that you have. And this brings us to our carnivore certification program that you, Coach Peter, head, and that I've been talking about for a very long time. Because inside this certification program that gets you internationally accredited as a fitness and, well, a nutrition and fitness coach, um, you are learning way more than what these people have had an education in. Okay, so you're studying saturated fat, cholesterol, heart disease. You're studying the Randall cycle. Very important to understand when it comes to fat loss and metabolism. You're studying vitamin C metabolism, ketogenesis, mitochondrial coupling. You're studying carbohydrates in high intensity training. You're learning how to analyze blood tests. Okay, you're learning the food addiction mechanisms as well, because food addiction is a real thing. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people don't like to talk about that, but it is a real thing. And you're learning the chemistry behind glycation. You're learning so many things. This is not influencer education that we're talking about, which is often what you see. Okay, it's actual biochemical literacy. And so once again, you get internationally accredited, which means that you are actually taken far more seriously. I mean, we're the most. Peter, you want to tell us about our accreditation status here and how that is in the carnivore space?
Yeah. So actually, before I do that, can we say hello to? I don't want the chat
Yeah, yeah,
members to
yeah,
feel left
definitely.
out.
Yeah, yes.
But
Hello, dear members, dear viewers. This is actually live. This is not pre-recorded. I know some people can nowadays everything's pre-recorded and everything, but this is really live. So yes,
this is really
you
me.
can feel free to speak here in the chat. I encourage you to do so. Actually, um, for some reason my chat has disappeared, but now yes, I see people here now. There we go. Look at that. But yeah, I mean um this is designed to be interactive. Yeah, feel free to say what you like, comment on the video yourself. This is not don't feel like we're not paying attention to you or anything like that. This is obviously supposed to be interactive. I want to hear your thoughts on everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, tell us, Peter, tell the viewers all about the certification
Yeah.
status of the program, because I think it's very important to understand.
Yeah, so we have our program is quite in depth. Like we have about 112 lessons so far. We keep adding to it, as Eddie mentioned. We'll probably by the end of this year, we'll have about 200 lessons. And one thing we want to focus on is that we wanted to get lots of different perspectives. It's not just me putting this course together because I have my biases, I have my ideologies, ideas, methods, but this is exactly why we have this program. We have multiple different instructors that give us lots of different takes on what the biochemistry of things and what they think is best for the client. So we go into it's a very in-depth program, and maybe I could even take you guys in it later on if you want a little sneak peek.
Yeah, I mean, even if we don't do it today, we could do it tomorrow. We could do it, we could do it at some point, because it is important, to actually get an idea of what it looks like, so it's not as abstract. You know what you're getting into. I totally agree with that.
Great.
But
Well, if you go to the website, you can look at all the modules. But Eddie, you were asking about the accreditations, right?
Yeah. And just before you get into that, just so you're aware, if this is already sounding like something that you'd be what you're interested in becoming or doing and being a part of, then links are in the description below to check out the website. You can message me directly about this as well. My email's in the description below. All the ways that's easiest to reach me. If you're in my health science community, you can also message me through there as well. So yeah, any way that you can reach me, message me about it, reach out, and then we can get something situated. But yeah, tell us more about the accreditation, what that actually entails.
Yeah. So one question that we're asked a lot is, is this make me credible around the world in different parts? Like we have coaches literally. I think well, right now we have like I think 30 to 40 countries now we're in. And so we have coaches over the world. So we wanted to give you more credibility in your space or in your region. So we have two, not one, but we have two international accreditations supporting our certificate. And we also have two national accreditations specifically in the US with National Academy of Sports Medicine, Athletic Fitness Association of America, and we're working on a couple more. One of them that we're currently working on is like the gold standard. It's like right below the doctor accredited. The doctor, um, I can't, man, I'm giving too many clues away, but we're working on something very big that's going to give you the most credible source of certificate that you can get. So we're working on that. But why is that important? It's because when you're working with clients, it's nice, as Eddie mentioned, to have more of a healthy relationship with, let's say, insurance companies and their physicians, their doctors, their other healthcare providers. So this gives you a little bit more credibility. If you want to work in, let's say, in a clinic or a gym, they'll look at a certificate that's not accredited by anyone and they'll be like, okay, well, you took this online course. What is this? But having these recognizable like
Right.
third party accreditations makes a difference in the space.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. That's what makes this so special, because this isn't just any other, online course or something like that. You're actually getting the qualifications, you're getting the credibility to actually make authority mean something again. I covered this last week, though. That's something that's really, really important. But yeah, you're getting internationally accredited. You get lifetime access to the material. It's a fraction of university costs. There's face-to-face consultation access with myself. So what I would say is, if you want Carnivore to sort of, grow up, so to speak, and flourish, then this is how. This is definitely the way to do so. So again, links are in the description below, to sign up for this, or to get a hold of me about this, so that we can, get something scheduled, to get a call scheduled, because at the end of the day, talking face to face about this on a more personalized level to make sure you're a good fit for the program is obviously, that's the first step, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's very important, that we do so. So I mean, if there's any other things that you want to say about the program before I interact with the chat a bit. I know I got so sucked in to this video, thus far, but
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of questions. And if you want to book a call, you can even chat with Eddie, because Eddie, you're going to be taking calls soon as well.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think the number one question is what it costs. We have incredible payment plans, like we could spread out throughout the whole year. And we make the payments as affordable as we can. We try to keep the course as affordable as we can. We do have to upkeep, like with our instructors and our accreditations and insurances and everything. But feel free to call us, and we'll try to make something work for you, because we don't want to turn anyone away. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, of course, anything, we are very, very accommodating to what people's preferences are, when it comes to that. But also, what I would say is, if you found, let's say that there was a theoretical program that was cheaper but lower quality. I mean, do you compete on price, or do you compete? Do you look at price, or do you look at quality? Because really, what matters is the quality, more than anything else. Because for higher quality, you can understand exactly why, why things are the way they are. So again, this is one of the, again, as Peter said, we're working on like the gold standard for accreditation. We're the highest. I believe that we're
Yeah.
the most accredited core, or you know program in the carnivore space.
Yes, we are.
Actually, that's not. It's not even close. So again, this is very important if we want the carnivore movement to grow, because there's a supply constraint here. There's a constraint on supply of coaches that actually know what they're talking about in the carnivore space. And if we want carnivore to be taken more seriously, obviously this isn't the only way. No one's ever said it's the only way, but this is obviously a very great way to do so, because a very strong limitation to carnivore right now is in the coaching sphere, is in the fitness sphere. There's not a lot of carnivore coaches, right? There's not, or at least they're not online too much. But what's going to happen is, you're going to have a client that's in desperate need of assistance. Maybe they are people like Peter saw years and years ago, that are in these calorie deficits, listening to coaches that are saying things like this: 700 calories max. And then what happens is, they're so desperate, they'll find a coach like Opie Fitness. They'll find a coach like Jacob Foods. I know that I pick on him quite often. I'm just being a little flippant here, but
Hey, would
they're
love to
gonna.
have them in my program.
We'd
Yeah.
absolutely. I said this months ago, whenever I was dealing with Jacob Foods, like
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna get their hands on them, so to speak. They're gonna get a hold of them, because those people are so desperate, they don't care who helps them. But wouldn't it be great if you sort of diluted that a bit by becoming one, actually assisting, by contributing to the pool of coaches that actually do know what they're talking about? This is a great opportunity for it. Like I said, does this mean that you're the greatest fit for it? This will definitely work for you? No, not necessarily. I mean, this is why it's important to schedule a call with either myself or Coach Peter, to determine that. But that is the first step, and I think it's important to make that first step, because again, you face the two options, which is to stay silent, kind of keep it to yourself. It's an option. You can keep it to yourself. You can tell your immediate friends and family, or not even do that. Or you can help people that you don't even know, but you can help them learn who they are, form a relationship with them, and ultimately form that relationship to ultimately help them achieve the best health that they can, that they couldn't even have imagined was possible. And that's what this is all about. So anyway,
Nice.
yeah, links are in the description below. Let's continue listening to a little bit more of what Obi Fitness has to say. I wish that I think his name is like, there's like O'Brien is in the name.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's why it's like OB. But I
Cool.
can't remember his actual name. I knew it at one point, but
All right.
he refers to himself as Obi Fitness. So
All right.
all
I'll
right,
be for
let's
this. See what you got.
all right.
Let me explain how you do this with diet and training. For diet, this is going to be how extreme you want to actually take it. So for your body, you need an essential macronutrient called fat and omega fats and protein. To really regulate your hormones, you need to have 0.3 to 0.
Which one was conspicuously absent, Peter, in the essential macronutrient category?
Well, he might not be finished, but protein.
Well, he did say protein. He did say protein there, but there was one that was conspicuously absent for me, at least, with the one that starts with a big C.
Yeah, he didn't say carbs, but does he say carbs?
I don't. Well, we'll see. We'll
All
see.
right, let's see.
5 grams of fat per pound you weigh, and make sure you have a good omega-3 to omega-6 fat ratio. These are very essential in regulating your hormones. Next up is protein. You need to have 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound you weigh. The more aggressive it is, the more I'd lean towards that 1 gram protein per pound you weigh, because your body needs more protein when you're in a deficit like this. It needs that additional help to recover, and it's going to make you feel more full. And this is what
Okay, so what do you think about that recommendation on protein there? 0.8 to 1 pound per, or yeah, what 1 gram per pound that you weigh
Yeah, so far
during
so
a
good.
cutting cycle.
Yeah, I don't see anything
Okay,
wrong with that.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah, yeah. Which makes sense whenever you're talking about people in the fitness space. They usually don't have protein wrong. Makes sense as to why they wouldn't. But anyway, okay.
no coach talks about for some reason. Get your fiber content in. At a
Okay,
bare
wow.
minimum,
Why? What, you were doing so good.
Yeah, right. He was, except for the whole calorie thing. I mean, the whole premise of the video. I think I have a bone to pick with it, but the diet advice. Whenever he got that started, it was like, okay, all right. I suppose we could sort of work with this. Again, the premise. If we're working with a flawed premise, there's only so much that I can be charitable with. But then the fiber. The fiber. What is the point of this? What is the point of this when it comes to cutting? It depends on why he's bringing it up.
Well, I don't know, but you know what though? If someone has an issue with like they always want to be full, could fiber help for that process? I would say maybe.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So in the context of trying to cut, which again, we need to question this premise. I mean, I actually want to ask you, do you have any idea what the actual purpose of cutting even is to begin with?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting thing too. That's kind of controversial because there's an idea that in order to lose fat but keep your muscle, you have to go through a cut. It's like you gain, and the only way to really gain muscle is like to have excess amount of calories, quote unquote. And that's
Yeah.
not necessarily true. I think that's kind of an old school of thinking. But I've worked with many bodybuilders, many of them, and it's not as necessary as people think it is. It is a method, but you can continue to gain muscle and without carbohydrates, obviously, but you can continue to gain muscle even in a quote unquote calorie deficit.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Absolutely correct. I mean, we know this because people do this all the time. Even actually, so we talk about people eating more quote unquote calories in carnivore. Some people, what they'll find is that they can eat even less. I mean, it just depends on who you are. They eat quote unquote less calories on carnivore because it's more satiating, etc. And they put on more muscle as a result of that,
Yes.
like during that process.
Yeah.
So of course you can. It's 100% true. Let me take a break here. I want to interact with the chat a bit. Some people are saying, so does this course, hold on a minute. Does this course have a mock coaching test? Which I don't even know if that's
Yeah.
or
So that's a good question. I think I know what they mean is we have a quiz after each module. There's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
there's 14 mandatory modules and we have multiple bonus modules, but we have a quiz after each one. Those are just to help you reinforce what you learned, and that way if you fail the quiz, you can retake the quiz and retake the module as many times as you wish. At the end, there's a written exam, and the written exam is just a couple paragraphs of what you learned from each module in your own words. I know when you're using ChatGPT, okay? I don't want that
Yeah, it's
BS.
obvious. It's obvious. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, I like it raw. I want to hear like in your experience. I want to hear your questions. I want you to disagree with some things. I want to disagree with you. I want to have that conversation. And and then we review, the team and I review your written exam, and then there's a verbal exam. This is more of an interactive exam where we take you through scenarios. We say um, someone someone is trying, let's say we have a 50-year-old woman who is in a severe calorie deficit and is not losing weight. We don't use those words. We have a whole module on calories, but
Yeah.
I know it bugs you, Eddie, because you're very like literal. I've been in the industry for so long, it doesn't bug me. I just know. I just have to. It's like you're translating. It's like I'm hearing Spanish and I
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
translate.
yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I know exactly what look, I understand it as well. To be accommodating to people, I will work with the word calorie a lot of times, but the best thing to do is to, you know, constructively tell them, okay, well, calorie isn't exactly the best word to use. So like use mass. And it's a very foreign concept. It sounds like a crowbar, like you're just forcing that in. It sounds so weird and unnatural. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's the entire reason why we will refer to instead of just looking at calories, just look at grams. We just look at the actual weight of the like grams of protein, grams of fat. It's actually more consistent to talk about mass because most of the people that talk about calories, they'll also simultaneously tell you he just said it here, 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So we're
Yeah,
talking about mass and we're talking about calories. Now what we're doing is we're just getting rid of the noise by removing calories from the equation. And
yeah.
there is a sophisticated reasoning as to why that is. Again, I have a module, the module that Peter's talking about, I have a whole module on calories.
Mhm.
I believe that you're referring to my module.
Of course. Who else would I be referring to, Eddie? You, the
Yeah.
one and only. Um, but I want to comment on the calorie word and the comparison with mass, because when I'm training a client, if someone tells me they're eating 2,000 calories, I'd be like, okay, well, where's that coming from? What are you eating? But if, let's say, if someone's gaining weight, it could be due to the mass because they might be eating less so-called calories, but they're having, let's say, a 50-50 ratio of carbohydrates and fat. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's going to, cause the Randall cycle effects and inflammation effects and lots of other things. So the mass and mass out is just such a better approach to what you're trying to accomplish as a coach. If I know someone, like, calorie, it's just a waste of time. Like, tell me the mass in, mass out.
Yeah,
Anything
no,
else is
yeah,
just noise to me.
exactly. Exactly. And it's more consistent with how our body actually functions, for sure. Um, we've also got here, can you link your health community in chat, Ed? Yes, I've done so just now. I hope that you're still here. And then Dr. Volker Menzel. Hi guys, try to find time to take the test. Yes, and your program is great with very competent teachers. Oh, well, I'm glad that yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I know that I think Volker's in my health science community as well. I think you came from the program first. I believe that that's how that worked. And then before he was in our program, he was where did he come from?
I think his daughter is involved with Carnivore, with Steak and Butter Gang.
Right. Yes, Steak and Butter Gang. Steak and
Yeah,
Butter Gang.
but
Yeah.
I think he also knew of you and some of the other the instructors in this space as well. But
Right.
to have a doctor tell us that we're competent, that's a huge compliment. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. I'm working once again. I'm working on getting Dr. Volker on the channel for an interview about dentistry and dental health and oral health and diet and carnivore and all that stuff because it's a different and also structural health, which is extremely that's very important to talk about. It's very
Yeah,
seldom talked about. It's talked about far less than it should be. I have a whole
yeah.
video on that too with my chiropractor as well. So anyway, yeah. So All right, so yeah, about the whole calorie thing, we got that covered, and then fiber with the satiety thing. But let's let him elaborate a
Yeah,
bit more on
let's.
fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So far, I'm actually 50% with them.
Yeah, that's an improvement beyond what we've seen in the past. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's glass half full
Yeah. Yeah.
point of view.
20 to 40 grams of fiber a day. If you're a male, I would go more towards the 50 grams of fiber. But if you've never had fiber before in your life, every single week, increase your fiber by 5 grams and drink
Okay.
plenty of water. Because if you don't drink a lot of water, it could back up your stool completely, making you the most constipated person on earth.
It's almost as if we shouldn't be consuming the darn thing.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad that you said that because I was going to say that. Yes, exactly. That's the problem. That is the problem. However, I would actually go a step further and say his recommendation to do what is that? I mean, you're talking five. He says 5 grams of fiber a day and drink plenty of water with it. I mean, there's no guarantee that even will prevent the problem of constipation or anything like that. The fiber
It will
itself
help.
is yeah, it can help. It can help,
Yeah.
yes, but there's no guarantee that it'll prevent it. And the problem is, what if you? It reminds me of the whole argument surrounding carbohydrates and blood glucose spiking, where they'll always say, well, when you eat your carbohydrates, prevent the spike by eating fiber or eating it with a mixed meal or something. You got the dietitian Abby Sharp calling it her hunger crushing combo, which is the fat, protein, and carbohydrates on the plate. But the problem is that you're still going to get a spike. It'll be vastly blunted. You'll get a rise beyond what is really indicated for the system. So why don't you just circumvent the whole situation by removing it entirely?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you go ahead and do that? Because last I checked, neither of these things are essential. And not only that, they don't provide any empirical benefit whatsoever. They don't. And or evolutionary benefit from any inference that you can refer to. They don't provide any benefit besides the one thing that might not even be a benefit either, which we also discuss in the program, which is you can prolong certain types of exercise if you have some like carbohydrates, a very small amount, by the way. You're talking like, you know, extremely small amounts, like grams worth, like
Yeah.
4 grams, maybe even less than that. And actually, you can get the same effect if you didn't know this by having no carbohydrates at all, just tasting something sweet on your mouth.
Mm.
So the same exact thing, but even then, you still have to question: is that really a benefit? Because what if you're overriding the signals that your body is sending to you to stop doing the thing to prevent
That's the
further
whole purpose.
damage?
That's the whole purpose of drugs.
Exactly.
It's right. So you do have to use it as a drug, right?
Yes,
So
sugar is a drug. I talk about this in my book as well. Sugar is a drug.
I'm going to continue. I want to see what he has to say about fiber and if what he
Yes.
Doing
says.
the opposite effect of how fiber should help you be regular, it gets toxins out of your body and makes you feel more full. But don't
Okay, it gets toxins out of your body. I used to believe that, but the toxins that it's removing from your body is from the toxins that you're eating.
Right, exactly. Again,
So just
same premise. Circumvent the toxin problem then. And you circumvent that. Not to mention, if fiber's doing that to toxins, what else is it doing it to? I mean, it's doing it to
yeah,
actually the nutrition that you're consuming. It is actually an anti-nutrient by definition. It is stripping nutrition from you.
yeah. You're talking
So,
you're talking to a guy who used to do the green juices, green smoothies. I have 2 bags of spinach a day.
oh man. Oh
Yeah,
wow. 2 bags a day.
yeah, and
Yeah.
kale, dandelion greens, because fiber is nature's sponge, and I was cleaning out all these issues. It caused a bunch of issues, but I want to hear what he has to say here about fiber. This is very interesting.
go too fast because you could quite literally get hospitalized if you have too much fiber in one sitting and you're not used to it.
That's interesting. I commend him for recommending taking it easy. So well done.
Yeah, if we're gonna find the one like positive thing in what he's saying here, of course, yes. I mean, yeah, at least you're saying to slowly poison yourself. I mean,
Easier
that's
than you
really
think
what
there.
this comes down to. Because I mean, you can literally get hospitalized if you have too much fiber. Well, why is that? Why? Ask the question. Why? Can you get hospitalized by eating too much protein? Theoretically, yes, but good luck eating that much protein.
Yeah.
Can you get hospitalized by drinking too much water? Yes, it's easier to do it with water than protein, though. I'll tell you that much. Try and overeat on steak to a point of hospitalization. Seriously. I mean, yeah,
Actually,
no.
that
Like,
that reminds me. When I was in college, we had a I was one of the competitions was eating the most meat in one sitting, and I remember I can't remember how much I won, and it was pounds of meat. I can't remember. It was like it was like 4 or 5 pounds of meat. I can't remember.
that's
And
impressive.
now I was so sick, right? But here's what's so interesting. I was so sick for like 3 hours. After I was like, I actually don't feel that bad. And I actually, this was before I knew about carnivore. I was like, this is odd. Yeah, actually, like I feel like it's digested. And then later on, you learn about with Ken Carter. And I was like, I felt like, should I go to the hospital because I feel too good? Am I like in shock? But honestly, and I've done lots of competitions in college. I did like the eggnog drinking and like spaghetti. Of all the competitions, meat was like I was fine a few hours after.
Wow. That shouldn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me, but it's also just it's still astonishing listening to these stories and being like, what? Yeah, like it just reinforces it even more. Like, yeah, whenever you digest meat, you are literally converting all of it into liquid.
Yeah,
It's all liquid. It's gone. You have fully digested all of it. Okay. With fiber, that's not the case. That's not
yeah,
happening. I mean, at least even with carbohydrates, like simple carbohydrates, you're digesting them. You're digesting them. But with fiber, yeah, completely different story. You're not doing that. The only time that you're going to be not digesting like protein and fat and stuff, there's going to be some that's left over, okay, which is obviously why, not every single piece of food that we consume, we fully absorb. We don't fully absorb every single thing. But again, it's in the exact that's how the body's supposed to function. You eat a little bit more than what you absorb because you never know what's going to happen afterwards. You don't know what you've done beforehand. Your satiety signals have adapted to have just a little bit of extra that you consume. That's normal. That's normal. But when it comes to, as Baby Love says here, you need carbs, bro. When it comes to carbohydrates, then you can really override those signals way more.
yeah,
Um, and that's when it becomes a really big issue. And with fiber, sorry, I don't think there's no way that you're gonna have an appetite for fiber. You don't have an appetite really for fiber. You have an appetite for the things that is coming with the fiber. Um,
yeah.
you can sometimes. I will say there are certain plants they have some sort of dopaminergic like drug like effects, and also with hybridization and all that we've made it even worse. So there's sometimes like mixed nuts. They're like sometimes those are addictive, right? Okay, but even then, it's not really because of the fiber. Is I'm not looking at that and I'm like, oh yeah, fiber. I'm looking at it like there's fat in there. There's fat. There's salt on them. There's seasonings on them that are made in a very specific way in a factory. And then some of them actually have starch in them, like cashews. So there's other things there that we're actually having the appetite for, whether we actually consciously are aware of it or not. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So let's let Obi Fitness tell us more about how fiber is going to hospitalize you. Um,
I have over 90 grams of fiber a day, but I've been working towards that for so long. And then pay attention to your micronutrients like no other. If you follow me on short form content at obhealth.fit, you know how important those micronutrients are. This is gonna be how you're feeling during this cut. But after that, it is all how aggressive you wanna go. I would go towards that 500 to 750 calorie deficit every single day, because 500 calories every single day adds up to one of these, because 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. This is 5 pounds of fat. I was basically losing one of these a week in my calorie deficit of 2,000 calories a day. 2,000 calorie deficit a day, I should say.
all right.
You
Was
throw up
that
in your mouth,
actually?
Eddie?
Yeah. So I have been. If you know me, if you know me very well, you know that I have probably bitten my tongue to the point of it being cut in half at this point throughout the whole video because there's been a lot that I have not been saying. But here is I'm getting a little more vocal here. He does not know that at all because he didn't measure that. Again, this gets into the flaw of the calorie model. Again, I mean, how much time do we have? Um, the idea is that fat, whenever it's combusted, every gram, it's like 9 calories are released, plus or minus 20%. Remember? So it's
Yeah.
still a problem there. But again, that's based on the premise that whenever you consume the fat, all of it's going to be absorbed and all of it is going to be stored because all calories are stored beyond what you're actually using. But you don't use calories. Calories are a byproduct of metabolism. It's why we release them. We do release them. We release heat, all that stuff. That's great. But it completely fails to to consider the fact that whenever you are metabolizing more fat, a lot of times your metabolic rate, once again, even if you're going to use the calorie model, it can go up because of an uncoupling of mitochondria. We talk about coupled versus uncoupled mitochondria in the program. Once again, check out our website in the description. Get a hold of me to become a member of that program, because it's very important that we increase the supply of coaches that know what they're talking about. Do you want to know about uncoupled versus coupled mitochondria so that you can actually understand more about metabolism than just 3,500 calories right here in my hand?
Like,
Sorry, I mean,
according to whom, on the basis of what?
right? Yes, exactly. Yeah, but you can increase your metabolic rate through that mechanism. Not to mention that the degree to which the fat that you're consuming that is absorbed. First of all, the second thing I should say is not all the fat you consume is going to be absorbed. That's depending on many different circumstances. Then, of the fat that actually is absorbed, how much of it is going to be stored versus used? That's going to depend on insulin to glucagon, and therefore it's going to depend on what you're eating. It always goes back to quality. Like, what is the actual macronutrient makeup? Less relevant in this situation is the micronutrient makeup. In this case, it's the actual macronutrient makeup, like fat, carbohydrates, protein. What's the mixture? Okay, if you have very little protein but very high fat and carbohydrate, almost all the fat that you're going to be consuming, yeah, you're going to store it. Now later on, whenever you drop your insulin drops and you haven't eaten for a while, then you'll start using that fat that you've stored, but you stored that fat. It's almost guaranteed that of the fat that you absorb, if you have a very high insulin response, very low glucagon, the fat's going into storage. Like that, that's just how that works. And then as you stop eating, as the insulin goes down, you're using more and more of it for fuel. But obviously, a lot of people, that's whenever they start getting hungry again, if they're carb addicts, and so then they go and eat again. So they never are allowed to go into catabolic states unless they're asleep, right? And then they can and whatever. But anyway, there's a lot to consider that isn't being considered here. That's what
I have a challenge for you. Okay, I want you to go a whole 30 seconds without pausing.
Okay, let's see. Well, I did that earlier, and it was probably the most uncomfortable that I've ever been. All right, let's see.
We're growing together.
Okay. All right. Let's do this.
And you're asking, why should I do this? And why doesn't everyone do this? It is hard to adhere to. If you're able to sprint better than running a marathon, this could be the dieting for you. Because haven't you seen those guys at the gym that the yo-yo diet, you try to diet and it's so long that you end up just going right back to square one because you can't sustain the results and you can't sustain a deficit. You go crazy. Imagine eating no calories for 6 months straight. Couldn't be me. I go on an aggressive cut for 1 to 3 months every single time. That is it. And I sustain the results. And before I get the comment, oh, women can't do this. This is my client that lost 11 pounds in 14 days and got her dream body and now is going into a lean bulk. Or about this client. He's doing it currently with me. He's down over 15 pounds in 2 weeks. There's a lot more nuance to this, but if you're interested in some fat loss, you can apply for my coaching down below. Let's move on to training and how you should train when you're in an aggressive cut or any deficit of any kind. Now on training, and you don't have to.
Well, I'm proud of you, Eddie.
Oh man, that makes one of us. I'm not proud of that. I think I should have paused it a few more times. I mean, look. At least we let him get taking everything piece by piece. That's the problem in a 30-second, like whenever it's going on for 30, 40 seconds. Look, the parts where he says, they're pedantic points, to be fair, but they're still important. He says, imagine eating 0 calories per day. It couldn't be me. And I said, well, but it is you every day, and it's me every day because we don't eat calories. But then whenever he talks about his client in 14 days losing 11 pounds, I would say that I hate to be that guy, but I don't hate to be this guy. This is highly bio-individual. There's a lot of biodiversity here, so I'm not going to say that this should be happening for every single person, but I can tell you right now that I believe, based on my experience and many other people that I've seen adopt this way of eating, I believe that the probability and the likelihood of doing exactly that with no training whatsoever, by the way, is going to be higher on a carnivore diet naturally than any other diet because of how rapid the fat loss that you can achieve is on a carnivore diet. And no, it's not all glycogen. That's the initial amount. Yes, I have never said otherwise. It's glycogen and water weight, which those go hand in hand because glycogen has the osmolarity to pull that. It pulls in that water. It's an osmotic force. But it's also fat. I can tell you right now that I lost probably about 10 pounds in 2 weeks doing absolutely nothing. I was lying down on the ground. And it was just by cutting out plants and carbohydrates. Yes, some of that is water. I'm not saying otherwise. But then what happened is that I gained that weight back. But it's not in the way that most people mean whenever they say that. It was in the form of muscle. How do I know that? Because my physique itself actually changed. That was what changed. I saw it in the mirror. Now, obviously, right now, I'm still the same weight whenever I got back to the 145, I gained that 10 pounds back. I'm still at that exact same weight because I haven't exerted myself. So that's what a lot of people, if Obi Fitness were watching this right now, I know this because I've seen his material, his content, it's not material. The content involves attacks on individuals. And look, I'm not foreign to that. That's not a foreign concept to me. But he would say, well, this person is skinny and I have muscle. So listen to me, which is obviously a suboptimal argument. Because at the end of the day, just because someone has more muscle than the other person doesn't mean that the person that has less muscle is incorrect about what they're saying. I feel like this is just common. This is an ad hominem attack. This is a logical fallacy. So I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of things that I could say. But this is all based on the premise, based on a wrong premise. And we've already sort of covered the false premise. So there's kind of no reason to cover the rest of it. At the like, it's all based on one concept, which is, oh, cut your calories, but it's based on a false model of metabolism. It's not. We don't have a calorie transport chain, right?
Yeah.
We have an electron transport chain. So,
Right.
and electrons have mass, and they come from mass.
I think the problem that you'll run into is that what you're speaking of, it just goes over people's heads, and because they're so ingrained of like calories in, this is the measure. Like we're taught from being kids, like calories in, calories out. But it takes time to kind of retrain your understanding and being like, okay, like what is a calorie, and can we actually measure output of calories?
Right.
And all these different things, like are does when food goes into a bomb calorimeter, is that how we metabolize food? So it takes some time to reframe your thinking. So I sympathize for people like this, and I think trying to reverse someone's thinking like this would take a lot. This is why we need people who understand carnivore and understand actual nutrition, that whose lives have been changed to become certified with us and start helping people.
Yeah,
And
and I think image matters too, because here's the thing. You could be someone. Imagine how great it would be. Imagine how great it would be if you looked like Obi Fit. He has a good physique. I'm not saying otherwise, right? You look like someone like Obi Fitness, but also you've meshed the sort of the optimal physique with also the optimal brain. Like you're sort of like the really deep physiology behind things. I mean, that's sort of in a way that's an appeal to that's the appeal of Lane Norton, because people believe him to be, oh, he's not just like this he's not just some gym bro meathead, right? He's also a sophisticated guy. He's a scientist. He's a researcher. He understands the science. That's why he's so vaunted. Like he's really revered. Now, obviously, I completely disagree with that notion about Lane, but that's what the appeal is like he's got both. Now, imagine you actually could have both. Okay, you're not Lane Norton where you think you have both. You are a carnivore. Like you're an expert, and you have the physique to prove it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, just because I don't have the physique, for example, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong. But imagine there's a lot of people, like the unconscious mind. It takes that into consideration. Imagine that you could have both. Like seriously, that's actually a very that's something that this program will allow you to do. And
Mhm.
again, you will have the accreditation to prove it. You will have the accreditation that triumphs over a lot of these other coaches' accreditations. And some of these coaches have no accreditation. They don't have any. They're calling themselves a coach legally. They can call themselves one.
Mhm.
And like I've said before, I'm all for, you know, the deregulation of systems and all that stuff, and the free market kind of thing. But every system has its limitations and its flaws. Okay, it doesn't mean that the alternatives are better, but what that means is that this one also has limitations. The limitation of this one, the most prominent one, the most relevant one here, is that a person on the side of the street can legally call themselves a life coach. Okay, but what that means is that it doesn't mean to, you know, subvert the system, go to the system that we have today, right? Which is, oh, you know, just, you have to go to university and get propagandized and indoctrinated. The solution is actually, you know, having the impetus to do something to outcompete them. Okay, that's what the free market system does. It's all competition, but competition is good. Okay, I mean, it forces you, it puts some fire, you know, it puts some fire under your ass a bit. Okay, that's
Right.
really what it does. Like, that's it gives you the motivation. Okay, stand up. Let's do something. Let's take a stand, right? And that's what this is all about. So again, links. I want to clarify once again. You know, for any, if you're new to this, or if you've just joined, refer to the links in the description below to get a hold of me, to get, you know, to refer to the website, um, so that you can become a member of this program, to actually become a certified nutrition and fitness coach, an officially internationally accredited carnivore coach. Because again, if you want the quality of the coaching advice that we're seeing here to improve, you're the answer, whether you realize it or not. You're the
Yeah.
answer.
Very
So
true.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the rest of this video is basically going to be him talking about the training advice, and we're more so focused, at least in my space, we're more so focused on the nutrition as opposed to the training. But of course, we do have training advice as well in the program too, because we have the fitness program as well. So if you want to learn more about what our recommended protocols are as well, that's
Mhm.
also included. So again, highly recommend that's done, and that you sign up for it, so that we can make Carnivore a better place. Help more people. Help
I got
assist more people.
I got some good news regarding the fitness certification. Right now, I'm just putting together Dr. John Jaquish's module in the
Oh,
program.
good. Yes, 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 yes. So I interviewed him a little while back.
Mhm.
And I think I'm the one that reached out to try and get him to be a part of it, and it took a minute, but he did
Yeah,
get back. He got back to me, and then we got, yeah. So we're working on that. That's awesome.
yeah.
Um,
We just did
that's
filming yesterday, I think.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
very very good, very good. Looking forward to that for sure.
great.
Um, yeah. Well, Peter, I mean, look, it was good having you on to have your insight on a lot of on some of what OB Fitness here had to say. It was not, look, I bit my tongue quite a bit, but it's all right. It's all right. We still got the main point out, which is that calories are not exactly the most proper. They're not the proper unit at all to
Yeah.
use for metabolism, and it causes a lot more problems than it solves. So
Yeah, I'll give my final thoughts on the video. Like, I actually did agree
yeah,
with a lot of the principles he had, like getting enough protein, getting enough fat. If you take those two things, you could do very well with it. If you're getting the fat he recommends, probably over time you would be in the so-called deficit, and you will be in the cut. So no matter what you're doing, make sure you're getting that protein. Aim for zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. So if your goal is 200 pounds, get 200 grams of protein. So I'm with him on that. But the thing is, they add all these unnecessary things as well, like the carbohydrates, the fiber. But the things like this will actually do more harm than good in the long term. And I've seen what it does to people. So feel free to reach out to. I'm my schedule is pretty booked now with all the students, but Eddie's stepping up and he's willing to take calls now too. So but we'll see you in the program. Looking forward to meeting everybody.
yes, for sure. Yes, once again, as Peter said, I am taking calls now because we're trying to bring down, instead of bringing down the backlog. Instead, what we're doing is we're just increasing the supply of people that can take calls. So here I am. I'm able to take your calls. Email me about that. We can get something scheduled, and I look forward to speaking with you. And I look forward to welcoming you in to the community, because there's a very strong community aspect to the program as
Yeah.
well. So really looking forward to doing that, and looking forward to talking with you as well about this great opportunity that you don't want to miss out on, that you don't want to do, that you don't want to miss out on. So anyway, yeah, once again, Peter, it was good speaking with you, and we will do this again soon, where we talk about we deal with another we deal with another individual online that may or may not have the right ideas on nutrition, fitness, and all of those good things. So
Looking forward
yep,
to it.
yep,
Piece of
and
meat, everybody.
yes, I will see you sooner than I will see Peter. Actually, I will see you probably tomorrow. So I will look forward to that. So see you next time.